I am rolling.
The Knack Hardware and Lounge, in conjunction with Common Surface Savings and Loan in downtown Garage Logic, brings you Garage Logic podcast number 1532, April 25th, 2025. 91 degrees was the record high on this day. That was in 1962. And it was 25 degrees on this day in 1907.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Height in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
We have ice outs today on Lake Minnetonka. Minnetonka went out on this day in 1888, 1904, 1940, and it stands to reason 1962 when we had a record high of 91. White Bear Lake went out on this day also in 1940 and 1962, and then again in 1972.
And those are brought to us by our friends at ProfessionalTurf.com.
Yesterday we learned that the story has been covered of the violence interrupters balking at having to agree to certain contractual obligations in order to get their money. And today we learned that Jameel Jackson, he's with some interrupters who are called Change Equals Opportunity, is having to defend his bookkeeping because an audit is accusing him of double billing the city as a violence interrupter. So currently the violence interrupters are not interrupting anything. His group is called Change for Opportunity, and an audit recommends withholding final payment to Change Equals Opportunity until all expenses can be examined and verified. Jameel Jackson said he was unaware of the allegations until the Fox 9 investigators asked him about the audit. I'm kind of confused as to who, if anybody, would come up with these accusations, Jackson said. Change Equals Opportunity got $704,000 in city contracts over the last few years. Jackson insists his organization is available around the clock to help kids, including those accused of murder, the Kia carjackers, and the then 10-year-old child who took a joyride through a school playground last fall. If you ask me, I'm not getting paid enough, Jackson said. Jackson is accused of billing 80 to 90 hours per week to both the city of Minneapolis and Hennepin County, where he also has a contract. This is too good to be true. This scam is... Considering his other business ventures and his role as a high school head basketball coach, we, meaning, I guess, Channel 9, question the accuracy in the time submitted to the city and county. Oh, this is the audit saying this. For contractual work, the audit said. Jackson said he technically works that many hours, but added that this is considered salary work and that he never agreed to work for an hourly rate.
Wait a minute.
In other words, he's saying, I get a salary. You don't have to pay any attention to if I actually work for it or not. I ain't no hourly employee. I'm saying that. Jackson is also accused of handing out stipends to kids through untraceable cash payments involving checks he wrote to himself.
Oh, my God.
He defended the practice because many of the kids he worked with don't have their own bank accounts, and the cash gives them a lift.
That's awesome.
I think it would.
That's awesome.
I write the checks to myself, I put their names on the subject line, and then I submit that information to the city, Jackson said. So the city sees it, and it matches up and reflects my bookkeeping. I'm already confused.
Wow.
Are they real names, or are they like ex-second baseman from the 70s? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is he doing that?
Yeah.
That old...
Jackson's bookkeeping was questioned in the audit. He was accused of providing insufficient documentation. Jackson showed Fox 9 progress reports, staff salaries, and expenses that he submitted as required. By no means do I think I am a super genius, but I do think I do a great job of organizing my bills and my money to make sure that everything is on the up and up, Jackson said. The audit was required as part of a legal settlement reached last year after the city was accused in a lawsuit of mismanaging millions of dollars in violence prevention funding. The Fox 9 people spent months reviewing invoices, receipts, and time cards that raised even more questions about how contracted violence prevention work that goes beyond traditional policing was being monitored by the city. And it sounds like the city wasn't monitoring it very closely, were they? The audit is part of a settled agreement, so it had to happen. But I am in a position where I want to just move forward. Community Safety Commissioner Todd Barnett said.
Joe, what does that mean? I'm trying to figure out what that means.
What is part of
So he doesn't care? Is that what he's saying?
It sounds like he's saying, "Well, let's get back to work and put this behind us."
Yeah.
It sounds like he might be saying, let's get the violence interrupters back out interrupting violence, which I'm not sure they've ever
Maybe.
done.
Yeah.
Jackson said that it's just about the incompetence of the way that they have gone about doing things, and now they're trying to come back on us and make it seem like we have not done things the right way, when frankly they have just not required this. So it seems the general tone I've gotten off yesterday's story and today's is that we don't like we either disagree that they're requiring anything from us, or we don't like the fact that we're being required to provide information. Because the whole thing sounds like it's a giant mess, and it's not working.
Well,
And
just to test the system, Such, here at HBI, it's payroll day where you submit your hours, and then next Friday we get paid. I'm going to turn in to Mary, our business officer manager, 2 timesheets. I'm going to double bill.
Why don't you double bill her and then see how long it takes before Mary has a sheriff's deputy at your house?
1.5 seconds with Mary.
Mary runs a tight ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, should we look at the nation right now and try to determine? Yesterday I solved the milk problem.
Can I ask a quick question before we move on?
Yeah.
Do we officially add violence interrupters to the list of our frauds, or is that a different category?
It's not a state fraud.
It's not a state fraud. It's a
This
city
is a
fraud.
Minneapolis problem.
So this would almost be like a small claims court type of a...
This almost would be maybe a Class AA fraud.
Okay.
You know, Winston-Salem, something like that.
Gotcha.
Maybe Bull Durham.
This would be a play-in game for the tournament.
It's a play-in fraud.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
survive this fraud and you
Yeah.
pull it off, then you move up.
You get to play the number 1 seed,
Then
Kentucky.
you get
Yeah.
to go to the show. You
Okay.
get to go to the show where you're going to travel on airplanes and you're going to build for better meals and you get a better fraud going.
Entry-level fraud.
This is entry-level fraud because you're only dealing with a couple of $100,000 per fraud interrupting group.
Got it. Okay.
See, they haven't made their bones yet. Is that the term?
Sure.
I don't think they've made their
That might be a
bones
mafia
yet.
term, but it works.
Yeah.
He's coming up.
Well, yesterday we solved the milk problem. We were told in glaring headlines by a number of sources that the FDA is going to stop testing milk for safety. And then when we dug deeper, we found that no, the milk is still being tested. The principal FDA office is in the process of moving facilities, and apparently that's been underway since before Trump got elected. The bottom line is the milk is still okay. All right. Now we're being told we have 2 weeks before America has empty shelves. So let's dig into that. You think that's
We're
true?
going to be out of everything?
Well, I mean, if that's true, we're in trouble.
I thought the tariff thing was kind of winding down and everybody's backpedaling and starting to get along better. No.
Well, the only source I have for this is the Telegraph, which is a UK paper. And we're being told that so far American consumers have been shielded for much of the impact of the tariffs. But as the world of international shipping adjusts, the president is facing a reckoning. The U.S.-China trade war is gumming up container traffic between the world's two biggest economies. Freight companies are warning of plunging bookings and a surge in blank sailings, where ports are skipped or voyages are called off together. John, if you would do me a favor, because we're trying to dig into this to find out if we have 2 weeks, would you look up if there's a backlog of ships in the L.A., I guess it would be the ports in Long Beach.
Okay.
I believe there might be. Earlier this week, America's most powerful retail executives trooped into the White House to deliver a blunt prognosis. Tariffs on Chinese goods risk causing empty shelves in 2 weeks without a change of course. The three companies that attended that meeting were Walmart, Target, and Home Depot. They are among the most exposed to the president's policies, which include tariffs of up to 145% on Chinese goods and higher port fees for Chinese-made vessels. Walmart sources roughly 60% of its imports for China, including clothing, electronics, and toys. All around 50% of Target suppliers are Chinese. Holy mackerel. Electronic goods and machinery make up half of China's exports to the U.S. So here were China's exports to the U.S. by product in 2023.
Oh, all right. By product. Good.
Electronics and machinery,
All right.
miscellaneous manufactured articles,
Come on.
textiles and apparel.
What is the second one? I need a better definition than
Well,
that.
whatever it was $47 billion.
Criminy.
Chemicals and pharmaceuticals, metals and metal products, furniture, automotive, optical and other instruments, wood and paper, food and agriculture, stone, cement and glass, transport equipment, energy and minerals. All right. Many retailers and manufacturers will have a buffer of stock kept in warehouses and other storage facilities that will have initially allowed them to weather disruptions, but those only last so long. And according to this fellow in the Telegraph, we're down to 2 weeks. After that point, retailers will face this choice: pay the tariffs and either swallow the extra cost or pass them on to customers, or stop buying the goods from China and accept the shortages on the shelves. There are signs that American companies are responding by canceling orders, at least temporarily. It takes 2 to 3 weeks for vessels from the east coast of China to make their way to the west coast of America.
And you have to cancel that order before those goods, like if you have a reoccurring order that just always happens, you have to cancel that before those goods get on the ship. Otherwise, you don't have any choice. You're paying that tariff when that stuff arrives.
Yes, John.
The ports that you talked about on the West Coast, that everything you just said aligns with what's going on. Apparently, for the week that ends next Saturday, May 3rd, the number of freight vessels leaving China and headed to Southern California ports will be down 29% week over week. The week after, 44% drop in vessels scheduled for the week of May 4th through May 10th. So,
well, thank you. And right here it says, according to data published by the Port of Los Angeles, which handles large amounts of goods shipped from China, including Shanghai, container traffic was 56% higher this week than a year earlier, likely reflecting a flood of orders that were placed before Trump's so-called Liberation Day tariff announcement of April 2nd. But next week, and this is where John's information comes into play, the traffic is expected to be lower and 33% lower the week after that.
yeah.
What the hell? What about toilet paper? Isn't that what we usually freak out about in this country?
We load up on it, don't we?
I mean, during the pandemic, didn't we go crazy for toilet paper?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Now, what about Y2K? Was that a toilet paper crisis?
I don't recall. I was too busy partying for Y2K.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to ask a question. I don't mean to sound crass by any means.
I hope you don't.
Well, but isn't that kind of the normal price of doing business? Like these stores that are saying, well, we might have to resort to products made here. Well, okay.
Not 46% increases in prices.
I understand that, but the whole idea of passing the price on to the consumer, well, that happened, for instance, when fuel prices skyrocketed. That same thing happened then. Delivery fees went up.
I'm lost trying to understand where your mind is.
We're worried about empty shelves and costs going up.
Well, yeah, you should be, because the stuff that the shelves will be empty of is all the stuff that's not made here. It's not made here.
Okay, but
TVs are cheap, aren't they?
Sure.
There won't be in 2 weeks.
Okay, but I, as a consumer, can make the choice not to buy one.
Yeah, but the prices are going to be so high that you, as a consumer, are not going to buy one.
Correct. That's, I guess, my point.
Does anyone understand his point?
No, I'm not listening to him. He doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, Chris. I just had to take a cheap shot at you. I apologize, Chris. That was a joke.
You're right.
A joke. I do want to bring up something I'm seeing on Reuters from about an hour ago. Headline: I'll start over. China eases some U.S. tariffs, denies Trump's negotiation claims. So it's kind of, in the body of the story says it kind of looks like this is going to be resolved here. It's slowly working itself out.
Well, first of all, Trump has said we're in negotiations with China.
Right.
China denies that.
Yeah, China says nope. Yep.
And I have no reason not to believe China. They're powerful enough to probably say, at least here at the outset.
Wait. Don't believe anything China says.
Okay,
ever.
let me start over.
Yeah.
The question that is unresolved in this country is, did Trump bite off more than he could chew, challenging China to this degree?
Or was this all part of his scheme?
I'm really reluctant to credit him with schemes, because I haven't seen any that really have worked.
Replace the word scheme with negotiation.
I haven't seen anything that's worked.
All the other countries came to the table, didn't they?
But nobody's settled anything.
But
yet.
you get most of your stuff from China.
You don't like it that he's poking every little thing, do you? Giving everything a little poke.
Well, no, you're wrong on that. I don't think a trade war with China is a little poke.
I think
it's a major poke.
It is, but isn't it worth exploring?
Well, it depends on what the price will end up being for this exploration.
And we don't know that yet, do we?
If this works, great.
Right. And that's where we're at.
But in the meantime, and I'm being serious with the question, do we make toilet paper in this country?
Jesus, I'll look it up.
Well, I'm serious.
You know what
Didn't
worried
we go
me?
through this in 2020?
I mean, I'm worried about my toilet paper.
We looked all this up, didn't we? Toilet paper.
Did we look up toilet paper?
I think we did.
I don't know.
You know what worried me is when you said Home Depot, you said, what did you say? Walmart, Target, and Home Depot.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought, those bastards, that's where those warped 2x4s are coming from.
That's right.
So while you were talking, I looked it up, and 80% of Home Depot's lumber comes from the United States.
I have it this is called an AI overview, courtesy of Google.
Yeah.
Domestically produced, roughly 99% of the toilet paper used by Americans is made in the United States. Key manufacturers are Kimberly-Clark, Procter & Gamble, and Georgia-Pacific are the major players in the U.S. toilet paper market. Toilet paper is a bulky... Okay, I know that.
Okay, you can stop.
Domestic production includes Canada, China, and Mexico.
Okay, but then based on that knowledge, there shouldn't be a run on toilet paper.
No.
Right. No pun intended?
No, it was not intended.
Got it.
And I told you, when my church brought a shredding truck to the parking lot for shredding day, I took a lot of stuff down there, and I was shooting the breeze with the guy who ran the truck. It turns out all that shredded material becomes toilet paper.
I bet he was happy to give you
So there's something to think about, you know.
How'd that conversation start with the guy in the shredded truck?
And then
Hey,
that
buddy.
toilet paper, now, I want you to think about this, and this is the circle of life. That eventually ends up in a field, if it came from a septic tank, and then that field is planted into food that feeds America.
I'm not going to believe a word he just said.
I drive around in the spring and I see toilet paper in fields.
Well,
and
that's
I know,
that's not right. That
Joe,
shouldn't happen.
Where do you
Go to
think
jail.
Where do you think the honey wagons put that stuff when they pump your septic tank?
I'm sure it's turned into pure, clean water.
Yeah, I did too until I drove by the field and saw the guy pumping it out to the field.
You've sidetracked Joe's thought process.
Here, have some corn on the cob, Such.
The drop in predicted arrivals at Los Angeles follows reports from data provider Vizion of a crash in container bookings in April. For shipments from China to the U.S., bookings fell 64% in the first week of April compared to the previous week. Analysts blamed the crash on importers who were canceling shipments to reassess cost timelines and broader trade strategy. This is leaving container ships half empty and promoting more shipping companies to cancel voyages in a bid to reduce losses and stop fees plummeting. The spot cost of shipping a 40-foot container has already fallen from $5,729 at the start of the year to $2,793. Wouldn't that be good? According to Zanetta, a shipping data platform. What does that mean? Meanwhile, the number of blank sailings is surging. Since early April, the number of voyages canceled between Asia and the east coast of America has doubled to more than 40%, according to Sea Intelligence. When we look at the data, it is quite evident that the impact of the trade war has caused many shippers to pause or outright cancel shipments, analysts said. This, in turn, reduces demand for capacity on container vessels, to which carriers respond by canceling sailings. This level of escalation in blanked capacity illustrates a dramatic change in the market. All right. I'm not done with this, but I'm being told that I'm done with this.
Well, I thought you were going to talk us off the ledge. I don't feel like I'm talked off the ledge
I'm not
at all.
going to, and in just a moment, I'll either talk us off the ledge or install more people on it.
Or make us jump.
Or push us off.
Right now would be a good time to tell you that if you're looking for more tax friendliness and more business friendliness, if you have a business you're looking to start or you want to expand your business or move your business, take a look at Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's the state's largest city with a growing metro population of more than 290,000 people. And once there, you enjoy no state, corporate, or personal income tax, no inheritance tax, and no limits to what your business can achieve. And entrepreneurs are welcome. Wallet Hub calls it the hardest working city in the country. Top 10 says most popular to move to, and Fortune magazine says 50 best places to live for families. They're governed a little differently than we are in South Dakota. And if you want to find out more, go to Sioux Falls Development. That's one word, SiouxFallsDevelopment.com.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Deep Creep, Seafoam Deep Creep, manufactured right here in the United States of America, as is Boss Snowplows. Those two products met each other at my place last weekend. I sprayed down the whole front, the whole back of the blade on my snowplow before I put it away. And why not? I mean, it preserves, it protects, it dispels moisture. It's going to stop anything from rusting. And plus, that plow now sitting in my garage looks all fancy and dandy. And where did I find, and I know I'm preaching on this quite a bit, I found that can of Deep Creep right there in the back seat of the plow truck, because there's a can in every vehicle I own. That's how we should roll as GLers. Not only that, I've got a big supply stocked in. When I fell in love with this product, I went and got a case at the local farm and fleet store. It works on everything, and it works better than any other product on the market, and it smells better too. Like I said, it displaces moisture, lubricates. You got some rusty old crescent wrench that spent the winter out in the snow. Throw it in a little tub, spray it down with Deep Creep, let it work its magic for a couple of days, and then take after it with the wire brush wheel. It works fine. It'll be brand new. Get your own case of Deep Creep wherever you find fine automotive chemicals. Another fine product from our friends at Seafoam, Deep Creep.
We're wondering if our American shelves will be empty in 2 weeks. We did some experimentations off the air. The mouse for my computer that I'm holding was made in China. What about yours?
Yeah, because you're
China, and you guys are China.
Yep.
And then John has an unopened pack of number 2 pencils. Where were they made, John?
They were made in China.
They were made in China.
Mm-hmm.
iPhones.
I find it interesting that the two far-leaning lefties on the program, that being Joe and John, own communist pencils. That doesn't surprise GLers at all, of course.
I'm going to need you to throw away your mouse. Okay.
Peter Alott, head of policy at the UK Chamber of Shipping, says the question of whether this will now result in empty spaces on American shelves will depend on a range of factors. But the uncertainty is what's likely to prove most damaging. There is still a hell of a lot of uncertainty, says Alott, and in that situation, many people just pause activity to wait and see what will happen. The president had previously defended his tariff strategy as being necessary to reshore American manufacturing, but within hours of this week's closed-door meeting with those retail chiefs, he appeared to have shifted his position dramatically. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice, and we'll see what happens, he said Tuesday in comments that were viewed as an olive branch to China. Ultimately, climbing down from the trade war on terms acceptable to Washington is not in Trump's gift alone. I don't know what that means. Beijing is hit back with its own tariffs of 125% on American exports. And despite his claims that the two sides are in regular contact, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman on Thursday shot that claim down, telling reporters that the suggestion was groundless and has no factual basis. Whatever Trump now hopes to accomplish, he needs to do it quickly. If not, American shoppers may see the impact of this trade war on shelves within 2 weeks. Where does that leave us? We've covered toilet paper. We should be good on toilet paper.
Seeing footwear, apparel, toys, electronics.
Yeah. I'm not going to be buying an unusual number of toys.
Joe. Perishable items like apple juice and fish.
Yeah.
What the hell? We're getting apple juice from China?
We have apples here, don't we?
I thought we did.
We got apples.
Well, let's go here.
You like them apples?
I like an apple.
Oh, horse apples.
I can't. I don't believe we've solved anything. I don't know which products I'm most specifically supposed to maybe lay in advance. I have no idea. If you want to read this piece yourself, it's a pretty good piece. It's straight reporting. It's The Telegraph. It was written by, I don't know who the hell wrote it.
I found a piece on
Doesn't
NBC
say.
News pretty much saying the same thing. There's a lot of personal stories thrown in, people that order, and then people from China that are shipping too. So they're feeling it over there too.
I would imagine you're going to feel it like, you're going to feel it no matter, you're going to feel it everywhere. If, for example, let's say you ordered a set of outdoor patio furniture,
How did you know? I did.
and it's made in China.
Okay.
And now to get your furniture, because you're no longer going to get it from China, you'll go with an American producer. Won't the American producer take advantage of the fact that you're stuck, and that American producer can up the price?
So that's kind of what I was alluding to in the previous segment when I was thoroughly ridiculed. But yes, that's called supply and demand, Joe, as a guy that took an economics course.
Okay.
Oh, that was a swing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, but I guess
jab.
that's kind of what I meant earlier was, but you still, as a consumer, have the option of whether or not you want. It's not like when you get your energy bill, you don't have a choice there. You don't get to switch carriers.
How about eggs? That was the last thing we argued about the price going up with.
How about
Do you have a
bottled
choice
water?
there?
Where is bottled? Or do we get our bottled water from China?
God, I hope not.
No, we get it from Tom.
Yeah.
But
'Cause I don't want to have to be laying in bottled water.
But John, when
I
it
don't I don't have any bottled water anyway.
when it comes to eggs, though, you as a consumer have the option of whether you want to purchase $7 or $7 for a dozen eggs or not.
I get it
I
from
agree,
a
but that's
farm
not what I
over
was hearing
by the
8
golf
months
course.
ago.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Oil
During the
filters
election.
for your car might become rare.
Ooh.
Depending on the brand.
Well, mine ain't U.S.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What about the propeller?
As for your patio furniture problem, I would encourage GLers to do what I've done. All of my outdoor furniture is made from old pallets.
I thought you were going to say just sit on a stump.
No,
Set
it's
it there.
pallet. You stack up 4 of them, you've got a beautiful coffee table.
Meanwhile, eco warriors AOC and Bernie Sanders had to fly to a fighting oligarchy rally, and they paid $15,000 an hour for a private jet to attend. It's in the New York Post.
Jesus,
I don't
are you
care.
kidding me?
The hell with them. They had to fight oligarchy, so they rented a private jet to take off and get them there.
Wow.
I'm not sure they see the irony.
No, they don't.
And what do I have here? The University of Minnesota Duluth is going to stick by its guns and stand by the invite they've made to an evil conservative speaker. So congratulations to them. They have, who are they bringing in? This is from the American Experiment. Hosted by the college's chapter of conservative nonprofit group Turning Point USA, student turned spokesperson Olivia Krolchik took to the stage to advocate for free speech on campuses and the exclusion of transgender women from women's sports. She rose to notoriety. I guess Krolchik was their speaker. She rose to internet notoriety after receiving a failing grade on an assignment due, she says, to a professor biased against conservative ideologies. Now she's become an ambassador for the Riley Gaines Foundation, started by former NCAA swimmer Riley Gaines, who advocates for keeping transgender women out of women's sports. The occasion was billed as a gen ed course for students who evidently were not taught the bedrock American principles of open discussion and free exchange of ideas that's supposed to be the hallmark of higher education. As word got around of Krolchik's impending appearance, there were rocky moments on campus involving students who did not approve of her appearance. Nobody is less tolerant than Mysterians. Well, who? Name me somebody less tolerant than
Every
the Mysterians.
day on the commentary on our YouTube channel,
Yeah.
we get people saying, well, this is BS, I'm turning it off, when we are merely discussing both sides of an issue. We're not taking a side, Joe. We're discussing it, and people get PO'd because we're not being far, far, far right.
Okay, then you raise a good point, and it should be clarified. The left only tolerates the left, and the right only tolerates the right.
Dead on, perfect.
There it is.
Exactly.
There it is. It's impossible in this country to have a discussion.
Which is really unfortunate because those are fun discussions. They're rousing
It's just
conversations.
impossible.
And it's been the way the country always has run until the last 20 years maybe.
Yeah.
May I give you example A that cites that very thing, Joe? This is from Senator Erin May Quaid.
She's from the Apple Valley area. She's a Mysterian.
Boy, I'll say. She said that that's a made-up problem that doesn't exist.
What is a made-up problem?
Males playing in girls' sports.
Well, it's a made-up problem to the extent that it does not involve a great horde of people.
There are real problems in women and girls sports. Racism, sexism, lack of coaching and athletic opportunities, unequal time. Those are real issues that exist in women's sports. But I want to be really clear. Republicans are asking you to focus on the wrong 1%. This is a made-up problem that doesn't exist. Little girls, whether they are trans or cis, playing kickball is not a problem for girls' sports. It is a problem when you want to give a pinprick to a 7-year-old to play t-ball or make her go through invasive medical exams. So, Madam President, I would like to introduce the A74.
Like you mentioned, Riley Gaines, college level.
The left is going to insist on transgender participation in women's sports. The right is going to insist that they not be allowed.
Or just have a third division, the trans division.
I would, but that would be the result of a common sense discussion. And it would go against the ideological nature of Mysterians who believe that even the assignment of a particular gender is merely the result of patriarchy, and therefore it must be opposed. Remember, the overarching cause or the overarching energy behind the mystery is undoing the very idea of how this country was founded. And it was founded by white guys in wigs that sat in a hotel room in Philadelphia and dreamed up the brilliant, brilliant Constitution. That's not good enough. They were white, they were flawed, they were male. That must be undone. That is the root cause of what Erin May Quaid just said. It's the root cause of it.
And inadvertently, she may have just given us a golden soundbite.
A made-up problem that doesn't exist.
Where we're talking about anything. That's a made-up problem that doesn't exist. Yeah.
And it's not a problem because she is so thoroughly immersed in her ideological belief that she can't understand how someone could see otherwise.
It's interesting. They use that argument a lot. That trans gal we had on gave that same kind of response to...
You mean the guy we had on?
Changing to kids coming from Iowa, changing their gender. Didn't she throw out a figure like 1 or 2%?
That doesn't happen, according to who is that? Who do we have on? I can't remember her name.
Finke.
Lee
Finke. Thank you, John. Yeah.
Well, she's a guy, okay?
That's not a hill I'm going to die on. So
it's one of the hills the left is willing to die on.
And
apparently it's a hill that the right won't let go of. So
you're
where
right.
are we?
I think I'm probably, yeah, you're right.
But he did say that this is, meaning Trump, when he was campaigning, this is one of the things he said he was going to go after.
And that's what voters wanted.
Right.
Half the voters wanted.
I think it's bigger than that.
I don't.
I know a lot of people on the left.
His approval rating is the lowest of any president in history except for him in his first term.
I'm just talking about this one specific issue. I know a lot of people on the left that do not want men playing in women's sports.
Too bad Ellison isn't one of them, huh?
Yeah, no doubt.
In any event, this gal got to speak at UMD, and I don't think anybody threw a hand grenade or anything. I think it was all right. It turned out
that's
okay.
good.
Yeah.
That's our expectation level.
A couple of people got tossed, but no charges were brought against them.
Well, warnings were issued because there would be maybe some kids wandered in there and discovered they weren't in a safe space, which is foghornable.
I got a foghorn that right
No,
here.
it says right here, warnings were issued several times throughout the hour-long speech and question and answer session. Well, those warnings were over disruptions from the audience who probably they got in there and they didn't know that they were going to be exposed to a thought they disagreed with.
If I may, I don't often compliment Chris, but I'm going to tell you right here, he was exactly correct about the poll. New York Times poll, 79% of those think men should not compete in women's sports when posed with questions about transgender athletes. So 80% really.
Yeah. Did I doubt that?
You said 50%.
Well, I meant half the country is hard right and half the country is hard left.
Okay.
I'm perfectly willing to believe that 80% of those polled don't want men in women's sports.
Right.
I would be among them.
67% of Democrats do not want men.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I have lefty friends that they completely oppose men playing in women's sports.
Yeah, I want to read an exchange. This comes from Alpha, and it talks about Ellison, and he was evidently interviewed by Amy Hockert from Fox 9 News. And Amy read a question from a parent in the Moorhead School District who said a biological male recently took first place in the girls' triple jump and is now in the school records for 3 girls' events. Is it fair to the girls who have trained hard only to lose out to the athletes with clear biological advantages?
No, it's not fair.
This parent asked of Ellison.
It's not
Ellison said he was unaware of the case, and here's the quote that's making me mad, but trans athletes don't care about winning. They just want to be on the team.
Well, Ellison is conveniently unaware of anything. If it's,
but it's going back to that explanation. Oh, it's just 1%. Oh, it's just a handful. You know what I mean?
Don't care about winning. That's the only reason they're there.
Thank you.
They're fated to win because of biological superiority.
You're playing to lose? You're playing to tie? What's the point?
Men have longer arms, bigger feet, wider wingspan, greater lung capacity. All kinds of stuff that would really aid a guy swimming against a girl. It's not fair at all. Ellison is he's not useful. Let's put it that way.
Well, you're talking about our future governor. I hope you realize.
God help us.
I was telling you about UMD. That was another piece available from the Center of the American Experiment. We're lucky to have them in our midst. Right now, there's a lot of talk about DEI, but the real battle in Minnesota is radical ethnic studies. Walz and his crew at the legislature put into place a radical form of ethnic studies to go along with their new social studies standards. You ain't going to like it, and the center's got it all set up so you can read about it for yourself. Go to radicalrepeal.com, because there is legislation proposed to prevent this. And I don't know if a first grader should study lynching and redlining and Japanese internment camps. I think those things should be studied, but not when you're 7 years old or 6 years old. I think when you're in third grade, you shouldn't have to study solidarity movements with teachers asking questions like, how do institutions like schools oppress groups based on their race? You'll get that. You know, it's a nice long life. Don't worry about it when you're in the first or third grade. Go to radicalrepeal.com, all from the Center of the American Experiment, americanexperiment.org.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
The best kind of equity is the equity that gives you added value to your outdoor living space. Hell, your whole joint there. And that forces your equity and your value up. This curb appeal does. That means you're going to get a higher price. Well, your taxes are going to go up. Sorry about that. But the neighbors are going to love your place, and you're going to love it too. What I'm trying to get at here, I'm taking the long way around, is the Pro Turf Landscaping Division. They specialize in building equity, forcing equity, and they do that through pretty much anything you need: mulch beds, trees, shrubs, walls, water features, new driveway, you fill in the blank.
Kenny, the patio was the first thing the buyers liked when they looked at my house.
And
ProTurf built
we did
it.
the same thing at my place, and it was so dreary. It was like the Addams Family backyard. And when ProTurf got done, it was shiny and beautiful and lovely, and we couldn't wait to spend time out there. So you want to do something, and this is where we were at. We knew we wanted to fix this thing up. We didn't know what we were going to do. Their design team came in. They took video and photos of everything, then threw it in their imaging software, and they actually showed us what it was going to look like when they were finished. And wouldn't you know it, it came out perfect. I absolutely love ProTurf. They can really, really help your situation out. Get on the internet. Have I given the website address yet? I bet I haven't. I've just been rambling on here. ProfessionalTurf.com. That's where you go for the yard, the lawn care, and that's where you go for the estimates for your landscaping and irrigation. Did I mention irrigation? I don't think I did. If you have an irrigation system, they can service that. Keep that thing up and running for you. ProfessionalTurf.com.
Here's John Haidt.
Thank you, Joe. This news update brought to you by North American Banking Company. A couple of quick sports notes. The Vikings took Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson in the first round of the NFL draft last night. The 6'4", 315-pound Jackson was the third guard taken behind Alabama's Tyler Booker at number 12 and North Dakota State's Gray Zabel at number 18. Round 2 starts tonight. The Vikings, though, they will not be very active the next 2 days unless they make some trades. They only have 3 picks remaining in this draft, one in the third round tonight, one each in the 5th and 7th rounds on Saturday.
You know what I liked about the first-round pick for the Vikings, Devon Terrius Jackson, whatever his name is? When they go to interview him, guess what the first thing he did was?
I don't know.
He thanked his mom.
Well, don't they all?
No, but I meant he credited her with getting here. That shows me he's a good kid.
Yeah.
And a sort of sports note, former Vikings running back Adrian Peterson arrested in Hennepin County for reportedly driving while impaired. According to the Hennepin County jail roster, the 40-year-old Peterson was arrested and booked into jail for fourth-degree driving while impaired, a misdemeanor. The state patrol said that Peterson was pulled over at 3:20 in the morning, Friday morning, when a state trooper stopped a vehicle that was reportedly speeding on southbound Highway 77 and 66th Street in Richfield. According to the state patrol, Peterson had been driving 83 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone, and he blew an alcohol concentration of 0.14. during his breath test.
Nothing good happens at 3 in the morning.
Well, who gets loaded and then goes 83 in a 55? Take his
Adrian's
license
got
away.
a little bit of a history doing
He should
that.
never drive again. What a jackass.
In news, a fugitive who was found guilty by a jury after he failed to show up for the remainder of his trial has been found dead, according to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. 37-year-old David Powers is from New Auburn, Minnesota. He was found dead in San Antonio earlier this week. Authorities had a warrant for his arrest after he cut off his GPS tracker, violating his conditional release. Powers, also known as David Robakovich, had testified in his own defense but did not show up for trial on Monday. The jury returned a guilty verdict on Tuesday, convicting Powers of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping, and domestic assault by strangulation. Court documents allege Powers attacked and raped a woman and held her in her Lake Elmo apartment against her will in 2023. Star Tribune reporting a longtime Hennepin County judge who retired in March has been publicly reprimanded after an investigation by the Minnesota Board of Judicial Standards found a pattern of sexual harassment that included an inappropriate relationship with his clerk.
Just wait for the pause. Yeah.
And staffers overhearing, quote, explicit sounds of sexual activity while they were in his chambers.
Oh, boy.
Judge Jay Quam, who was appointed to the bench in 2006, abused his authority and tarnished the reputation of the judiciary, according to the reprimand. The investigation found a lengthy history of sexual comments and activity from Quam, ranging from the relationship with a former clerk to making observations about his clerks' bodies, their food intake, or clothing choices. He declined to comment when reached Friday. The reprimand noted that he admitted all of this conduct did happen.
If these chambers be rocking, don't come knocking.
How long do you think they stood there listening to make sure it was?
About a half hour.
I would have snuck one of those snake cameras under the door. Was it consensual, John?
I think the relationship, yes, from what I read the rest of the
It
story.
was called inappropriate.
But still, he was in a position of power, so you can't do
Correct.
that.
Correct. Yes. Surly Brewing Company expanding to a new destination across state lines. Surly announcing on social media yesterday plans to open a new tap room and pizzeria in Grand Forks, North Dakota, the heart of the University of North Dakota campus. Surly expanding its footprint to the UND campus in partnership with Short or Tall Eatery and Drink Hall of Rogers, which is also opening a second location that will adjoin the Surly space. Both of the eateries will be located at the foot of a new 5-story residential complex in Grand Forks called Memorial Village, across from the school's Memorial Stadium along North Columbia Road.
Boy, I miss Surly, and I bet they miss me.
Yeah,
Where's Joe?
yeah.
The world is better off, and so are you.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Phil.
You've got to give yourself permission to be okay.
University of Minnesota Senate overwhelmingly passing a resolution yesterday to urge the administration to join a legal partnership with other Big Ten schools. It's a response to the Trump administration's policies targeting higher ed institutions. During the special University Senate meeting, senators passed a resolution asking President Rebecca Cunningham to formally propose and help establish a mutual academic defense compact among all 18 universities as part of the Big Ten Academic Alliance. The resolution calls for the schools to pool resources, including a legal counsel, governance experts, and public affairs offices. Rutgers was the first to pass a resolution of this kind. Rutgers, along with the U of M, among more than 50 higher ed institutions under investigation by the U.S. Department of Education over diversity policies. Social media platform X is suing Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison over a state law that bans the use of deepfakes in elections. Deepfake images or videos can depict events that never happened or show people saying things they never said. In 2023, Minnesota made it a crime to knowingly disseminate a deepfake within 90 days of an election. The state was one of the first in the nation to regulate the use of AI-generated material in elections, officials worrying it could be used to spread misinformation about candidates or voting processes. In a lawsuit filed Wednesday in federal court, attorneys representing X argue the statute violates free speech rights of X and other social media platforms.
Sorry, who was the one behind that, John, the lawsuit?
X.
X
was the
Here,
one
here.
lawsuit
I have
that
some
was-
issues with this. X is arguing that you shouldn't prohibit us from posting things. I think what X is intending to contend is you'll call anything a deep fake to prevent us from having
From distributing it, yeah.
But I can't get on board with them defending the idea that they should be able to post deep fakes to affect the outcome of an election. Go bleep yourself. No.
Wouldn't it be better to go after the deep fakes rather than the services
platform.
posting them? Yeah.
Okay, this is where my interest ends, because because half the crap I look at, I don't know if it's real or not.
That's the problem now.
Yeah.
I have an audio clip of Tom Bernard talking about something, and it is not Tom Bernard. There's software
Was he
out
angry? Was it an angry rant?
No, he was big upping. It was here's what happened. You take a sample of Tom's voice, and then you enter into the program. You type in what you want him to say, and it comes out as him, and it's disturbing.
And it shouldn't be done to influence elections.
It shouldn't be done, period, Joe.
Fine.
Kenny,
Thank you.
You should have been in the room. This was months ago. Mike Fratelloni took one of Joe's columns, entered it into AI,
Yeah.
and formulated a talk show segment based solely on that. It almost blew both of our
And
minds.
we're so dumb as a society that this has already happened, and all the it doesn't matter how much protesting we do. This is where we're at, and we're going to have to deal with it.
I don't like it.
It's the same. Photoshop's the same thing. People believe it all the time online. You see a Photoshop picture and look
But
at this.
essentially, what Musk's lawyers are saying is trust us. Well, no, I'm not. You can't. They're saying you can't limit us in terms of what we post because you'll end up prohibiting us from using things that are real. So they've put the cart before the horse. What needs to be established is how this country is supposed to determine what is real or not. Right. There should be some means by which the consumer knows I am looking at AI.
I agree with that, but you're kind of taking the side of kill the messenger and not the message.
Yes, because I don't trust the messenger.
Well, I don't trust any news person on the planet.
Well, that would be the messenger.
Right.
I'm hurt, Kenny.
Yeah,
but
what
I
about the
don't.
guy to your left?
But I don't. I don't want anything to become of them.
Well, I don't think they're going into the gulag here. I'm merely suggesting that we have no means to determine what's real or not.
Is your main objection?
I want to be able to determine that.
So your main objection is censorship? Is that what you're objecting?
That's X's main objection to this court ruling. They're finding it to be censorial. We don't want to be censored by you. But we're saying, but you're going to be posting fake stuff.
Yeah, they shouldn't be censored. I think you're in the wrong here, Joe.
Huh.
Well, that's just my opinion, man. But I really think you're going after the messenger and not the message. I agree with everything you're saying about AI and fakes, deep fakes. Absolutely.
A mountain lion that once roamed the streets of Kenwood and Lowry Hills neighborhoods in Minneapolis has found an unconventional new home after being hit by a car. The animal made headlines. You'll probably remember this. We talked about it back in December of 2023 when it roamed the streets of Minneapolis until it was hit and killed on Highway 394. Well, the area wanted to remember the animal, so they successfully campaigned to have its body preserved.
Did they stuff it?
Yep. Once the remains were released from the Minnesota...
Kenny, you love these stories, don't you?
I just love the term stuff.
They stuffed it.
Stuff it. Grab some newspaper and some firewood and a whole bunch of shit from
Kinda
before
lumpy,
the garage.
where they use the
Stuff it.
firewood.
Here, hold the back end of this thing. Let me stuff it into the vent.
Like it's a Thanksgiving turkey.
Push.
Where are we going to display it, John?
Once the remains were released from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, the animal was taken to a taxidermist in Virginia, Minnesota. There will be a special unveiling for the mountain lion tomorrow, if you'd like to take it in, Joe.
Let's go.
Hey.
Kenwood Community Center
Oh,
in
boy.
Minneapolis.
It was a marvelous animal.
It was
really
big.
sleek,
It was
wonderful
big.
animal. Yeah.
Why don't we?
Poor guy was really lost, wasn't he?
Well, he was a
mountain lion.
idiot, Joe.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Let's take a quick.
How come all these
Jethro.
roads ain't paved?
Jethro wanders into the city and gets eaten alive.
Let's take a quick break and hear from Mr. Reavers.
Thank you, Johnny. I want to mention my friends once again at North American Banking Company. And at North American Banking Company, they have one simple philosophy, and that's this. It's banking done differently. And you get that feeling anytime you walk into any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. It doesn't matter if you go to Maple Grove, Shoreview, Woodbury, Hastings, 50th and France, or Roseville, you get that feeling. And they offer all of the services as the other big national banks. It doesn't matter whether you're looking to buy a home, maybe finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car that you've been dreaming about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. And with spring here, maybe you've got that project you've been thinking about or an unexpected expense that come up, then why not put your home's equity to work? A home equity line of credit from North American Banking Company is going to give you flexible access to funds when you need them most. Whether it's a home project or the cabin, an unexpected expense, or something else, their experts make it easy. And they also offer the same online and mobile banking options as all of the other big national banks. But the key difference is is, you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. So check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. Banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender.
Hey, Pat.
Yes, Joseph.
I need your opinion on something. John Haidt just had in his news the story of Twitter, now known as X, is suing the state of Minnesota, right, John?
Correct.
For a law that would prohibit the use of deep fake material, excuse me,
Perfect.
near an election. And
Yes.
and what X is arguing is that would violate their First Amendment rights. And
Deep fakes, right? Okay.
Okay, so what I'm suggesting is then what they're asking for is First Amendment protection for material created by a machine.
That's right. It's basically AI can show you anything, and it's not illegal, right?
Yeah, and I disagree.
I know, but it's where we live now, baby. This thing's taken over.
So you guys are, Royce, and then my argument is, so you're for killing the messenger and not the message. And remember, it's not Twitter creating this; it's users of Twitter.
Yes, but I guess Twitter does what they don't want to be responsible for keeping deep fake material off the site.
Right,
right. That'd cost them some money, right? To do that.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
It's not that Elon would ever participate in any deep fake stuff. No, not the kind of guy he is. But,
I'm glad you realize that.
he would he's a very honorable guy that can't wait for Ukraine to give the entire country to Russia.
Before this gets away from us,
It already has. But
the world is, in fact, clamoring for your return to the platform.
You're aware
X.
of what Twitter is, right, Pat?
Yes, I am.
Tail between the legs, we would like to see your triumphant return.
Here's the problem with Blue Sky, right? I got to tell you, beyond the fact we're all a bunch of weenies. The other fact is you can't keep up to date with what's going on Blue Sky because they don't, like, if you want to, I usually follow the NFL draft on Twitter. I don't watch 2 seconds of it because I could just look and see who somebody drafted.
Yeah.
But on Blue Sky, you can't do that. You got to go find something else. But really, I can't come back with my tail between my legs at this advanced age, can I?
Oh God, yes.
I'm in favor of him remaining off it.
Or you should just say, Pat, longest running April Fool's joke.
Yeah, right.
No, you should come back in on the horseback with the reins in your teeth, blasting with both 6-shooters. We want the triumphant return.
Hey, Pat.
Well, yes.
Kirill Kaprizov is on fire.
Although, if I was, I believe I agree with Dominik Hasek, the great goalie. We should send them all back to Russia until the war's over. But that said, I don't think we're going to do that. So, yes, he's a fantastic player.
Mother of God.
I watched the first period, and you know what I said? We're going to win this whole series from watching the first period in Vegas because we got mobility.
Well,
They're a big bunch of lunks.
Joe nailed it.
There goes that series.
You had to go and ruin it, didn't
they're
you?
a big bunch. Their forwards are like 6'5"
You know what?
and 230.
I was wrong. You shouldn't come back to Twitter, and maybe you should consider just retiring altogether. That was a hurtful statement, Pat.
What? The Vegas, our guy, the Wild, they can move around.
Everything you say about the Wild turns out the opposite.
No, I said in the first game that the Wild was going to win, and even after they lost, I didn't change my mind.
All right.
Their goalie has turned it. You know what? when your goalie turns into a sieve, you got problems, right?
Yeah. What about to cast your spell on the Timberwolves? What are they going to do?
I don't know. It depends. The Lakers haven't really done anything offensively in 2 games against them. I mean, the Doncic gets some points, but it depends. The officials at this point have allowed it to be a wrestling match, and if it stays that way, then I don't know. If they're playing to 100, they're probably in trouble. But if they can, open it up a little bit, they got better athletes than the Lakers do. So they got more of them too. So I don't know, but the damn thing starts at 8:45 tonight. So
why is Minnesota getting the short end of all these times?
I have no idea because TV is more into hockey now than it's ever been, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're putting them all on, so they're putting on these. TNT is mad at the NBA because they're leaving the NBA. So TNT and TBS have these triple headers, and we end up being the West Coast game. So, and when they say the triple header starts at 5:30 and they schedule them 2 hours apart, they end up an hour behind.
There's not an NHL game played this year that took 2 hours.
I know, and they got them scheduled for even 2.5. But that's what you got to have 10 minutes of foreplay before you drop the puck, too, right? You got to talk and BS and have the idiot female announcer down there on the ice ask somebody a dumbass pre-puck question. And,
careful.
Well, there's one of these babes is a Hextall. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Is that Hextall? Is in the hockey family? Hextall?
Yes, I think she's. Is she a granddaughter of our guy? I don't know. I'm not sure. She's. She's just doing what they tell her to do. But I know. Let them go. Let them go play. We don't need to. The worst thing that ever happened is when we started getting in-game access to all these people.
I don't like that. It makes me nervous.
They would rather show that than, they're now in the dugout, the 5th game of the World Series, asking some annoying question to the manager while he's trying to decide whether his reliever is going to piss the game away or not.
Leah Hextall is the granddaughter of Brian Hextall Sr. Her uncle is Brian Hextall Jr. Dennis is also her uncle, and Ron Hextall is her cousin.
Dennis was our guy, right?
Yes.
Joe. Yeah, we didn't have Brian. We had Dennis. And
who's her dad? Who's her dad, Chris?
Oh, her grandfather is Brian. It does not tell me who her dad is.
Well, she comes by her hockey knowledge genetically.
Oh, yes, she grew up with it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was quite a performance, wasn't it? Wow.
It really was.
Blew them out. They were good, man. They were good, and now.
Did you happen to see? Wait. Did you happen to see? You didn't stay up and watch it Tuesday night because it was way too late. But did you happen to see on the highlight video a pass Kaprizov made to Boldy and Boldy scored? That was one of the most. Huh?
I stayed up and watched it, for God's sake.
Oh, I didn't. So I missed that pass.
I don't have to go to bed after the news.
Well, I like to read. I like to read once in a while, okay?
Yes, right.
I don't read during the day. It gives me willies.
I sleep in 3-hour shifts, so I'm fine.
God, it's like sitting at the home. It really is. You need a fresh diaper, either one of you?
Anyhow, yes, they're playing great. They're good. Let's admit it. They got this Rossi has become a player. Boldy's terrific. Eck is one of the best players in the league. It's underestimated. I just don't know why we have to throw the Erickson in there because his last name's Eck. Let's just call him Eck. Okay?
You know who else ain't bad is that kid Faber.
Yeah, he's a good player.
No, he's terrific.
Nobody plays more time than he does. He's on
gave
the
up
ice for 30 minutes practically.
He's a
Yeah,
digger,
he gave
man.
up the first goal of the series. He lost his guy and lost the puck down there, but beyond that,
Yeah.
and when Zeeb Whiz starts playing with him next year, look out! We're going to have Zeeb Whiz in there too. So.
I wish Zeeb would wear a mouth guard. He's got a nice set of teeth. They're not going to last
It
long.
won't last too much longer, right? Yeah, he's a cocky little fellow though too. So, but yeah, it's and you know who's a happy man right now? Tom Reed. A second round for the first time since 2015 would be good for business.
I think so.
They haven't been in the second round in 10 years.
That gives you an extra 2 weeks. You know,
Pat, your Twins are on fire, too. Boy, they handle those White Sox.
They lost
well,
yesterday, though.
actually, they got beat yesterday.
Like I said, they got 2 of the 3 out of those White Sox.
2 days ago, they had 11 base runners in the first 3 innings and scored 1 run. That is mathematically impossible, isn't it?
It seems
11
like it.
base runners, 1 run. That was unbelievable. They stink. They stink. That lineup stinks. Okay, that's just my opinion. But
Well, that's like your opinion, man.
Where are we? Are we here tonight?
Yes, you're
Yeah,
hosting
we got
the Angels.
Angels here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's right.
And we moved up the game tonight by a half hour to accommodate the 2 crowds. One of which will be 18,000, the other will be 6. You know, did you see that yesterday, Joe? The crowd shot.
I showed him a
Yes.
picture at first
There
pitch.
couldn't have been 3,000 people there.
Yeah.
And I got to repeat this, but it reminded me of the 1970s Met Stadium because you know in April they never played a night game until in May. You know,
Right.
so those like Thursday afternoon games there'd be like 2,200 people there, and Jack Blasey used to sit down in that photographer's area there at the second deck. You know,
Right.
stand there, and he'd get a couple of chairs in there. And when one of their mutts came up, Jack would bellow, Toledo, which was the AAA club, which was interesting because Jack was a marketer for the Twins.
Yeah, he was their marketing guy.
He was being taught by the guy selling tickets.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Why are you people at the game? Why aren't you working?
Yeah, right. Yes. It was unbelievable.
Go ahead, Pat.
Jack was marketing a team he hated. It was fantastic.
2 quick observations from the NFL draft last night, gentlemen. One was John and I were talking about the size of the crowd. Conflicting reports. Some say 125 and some are saying 205,000 people at the game. But the best tweet of the night, you guys, so they'll have the graphic, on the screen. It'll say MIN, meaning Minnesota, and then it'll say the Vikings pick is in. The tweet of the night was when Arizona was on the clock, and it said, Cardinals, pick is in, and someone said, we got a new pope.
Not bad.
That was a pretty
bad.
dang good tweet, I thought.
Joe, in your youth, you were a big Viking fan, right?
Yes.
You know, you're a kid, you used to drive to Faribault to watch the games in
Yep.
Rochester and places like that. Do you think if the draft had been here like in 76, you'd go stand in a crowd of 100,000 in downtown St. Paul to watch it?
No.
I don't think I'd do
No.
that. I don't.
No, not
John,
by
did he-
1976. My eyes have been opened. No, I would not.
Well, anyhow, I got the Wolfies tonight, and we're not kicking off till probably 8:45.
Are you going to be in the building?
I'll be in the building.
All right.
I don't know where last year when they had when we had the playoffs.
Leaky
they
rough.
They had us upstairs and it was raining on us, which is when you got the computer going, it kind of makes you nervous.
Right.
The rain's
Sod roof.
That's right.
yes.
I'll look for your dispatch.
All right.
All right, thank you. We'll.
Which pub did you frequent when you went to the Vikings game in Faribault?
I never went in Faribault. I don't know where you got that. I would go to Rochester,
Oh, I see.
the Kaler.
That's a different city.
That's a different. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, don't you have something to read that I handed you and printed off?
I do. Do you have fanfare?
I can absolutely.
Oh, it's Friday.
It is. It's Fun Friday, ladies and gentlemen.
Which GL insider, close personal friend of Matthew's, is going to win today?
Well, it's Friday, so it's time to once again recognize one of our loyal Gumption County residents as GLer of the Week. I think it's somebody, I know it's somebody I have not heard of.
Okay.
But it's Elizabeth Taranto from Columbia Heights. Does anybody know Elizabeth?
I don't think I do.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for your support of Garage Logic and being a faithful member of the town council. You get the syrup. You get $50 worth of Masters Maples. You get the gift box. That's fantastic. Elizabeth Taranto. If you put an O in there, boy, it'd be just like a town in Canada, wouldn't it?
Sure would.
Taranto. Listen, every Friday, we're going to salute a town council member in each and every week throughout 2025 as GLer of the Week. If you're not a town council member, go to garagelogic.com and sign up for an annual membership today for your chance to be GLer of the Week this May. There'll be 4 more GLers of the Week in May. Elizabeth Taranto from Columbia Heights.
Finally, thank God today is Friday. TGTI Friday. It's the scramble!
I would like to salute the Amish.
Joe, before you do that, may I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice you said we'd be giving away.
4 Fridays in May, John, for the maple syrup.
There's 5 Fridays in May.
Oh,
Joe.
sweet Jesus.
So it's just
Are you two? You two are married, right? You have a secret marriage. It just seems like we're listening in on the dinner conversation.
So there's 5 winners in May.
5 winners in May. I didn't want to see any emails notifying
No, that's
us.
fantastic.
Which one of you is the work wife? Which one
Me,
plays?
I guess.
Yeah, Joe
Recovery
makes
and
more money.
recovery and rebuilding efforts from the devastation unleashed by Hurricane Helene on towns like Chimney Rock, North Carolina, has faded from the headlines. But over the last 6 months, a team of 2,000 people from the Great Needs Trust, a Pennsylvania Amish community, has been quietly and steadily rebuilding the town's homes, businesses, and bridges. Chimney Rock Mayor Peter O'Leary told WCNC, "When we look around, we still see tremendous damage and realize it will take a long time to build back, but at the same time, we've made tremendous progress, and that is very encouraging due to these Amish volunteers. They've offered their skilled labor and compassion in their efforts to help rebuild the community." With volunteer Amanda Zook describing how our hearts just felt drawn to come and help the people in the area. Amos Stoltzfus boy, those are some Amish names, aren't
That's
they?
a good name, Amos.
Amos Stoltzfus is another volunteer who traveled hundreds of miles to come to the aid of Chimney Rock. Stoltzfus remarked, "It just fills my heart with joy watching people get their life back. Somebody that was completely devastated through the storm, somebody who didn't have anything. It's encouraging to see them get back on their feet." That western North Carolina mountain community was among the hardest hit during Helene, with virtually every business sustaining damage. And while politicians and bureaucrats have bickered and postured over how to direct government aid to storm-devastated communities like Chimney Rock, the Amish members of the Great Needs Trust are showing what compassion and community combined with action can accomplish. So, is that a little ray of hope?
Those efforts have been grassroots from the beginning, even from the initial response right away. Guys with helicopters flying in, and then the good old boys came in with their excavators and dozers and started putting roads back together, and then the Amish roll in, and it's just amazing what we can do for ourselves, how we're here for us, and the government is just a big pain in the ass that mucks everything up.
Do you know how we've always turned to the caldera in Yellowstone waiting for it to erupt, and all of us essentially wishing to just give us a week's notice before that volcano erupts in Yellowstone so we can break glass and smoke a Lucky. Well, it turns out that scientists have found that a cap, a giant magma cap, will help prevent an eruption. They found a cap made of supercritical fluid and magma. It stands between the magma reservoir underneath Yellowstone National and a volcanic eruption. So it doesn't look like we're ever going to get that week to break glass and smoke Luckies. A team led by Chenglong Duan found the depths where the reservoir began by using 53,000-pound Vibrosius truck, a vehicle usually used for oil and gas exploration, to send seismic waves to the ground in Yellowstone. They then used more than 600 seismometers to record signals from the truck. Based on those readings, the research team determined that the reservoir began at just 2 miles beneath the surface, and a cap is developed over it. So there goes your 1 week chance to break glass and smoke Luckies.
But there's been an incredible amount of earthquakes in the United States, Texas, and all over the world in the last couple of weeks.
That doesn't mean anything.
Lava
Nothing?
everywhere. We got
That doesn't mean anything.
lava
sure?
spewing.
If Stacy
plates?
hasn't weighed in about it, I'm not worried.
You worried about plates moving?
Yeah, you get that.
California slipping off the edge?
You can get them. They
It
move.
might be time anyway.
Yeah.
Islands tipping
perfect
over.
time.
Now, I hesitate to do this, but I don't doubt the fellow's sincerity. We were talking the other day about you could fit the world's population in the state of Texas.
God.
But that's true. We determined that, right, John? That's true.
Yeah, that's what it says on it's
But
the internet.
actually,
It's on the internet.
Well, we get a note here from David Elfelt. John's source regarding people in Texas left out a couple of kilos from the transcript of Tuesday's podcast. Yes, Joe, the world population could theoretically fit into the state of Texas. If each person were to occupy a square meter, the total area required for the estimated 8 billion global population would be 8,000 square meters. Texas has 695,000 square meters. In terms of miles, 689,000 square meters is 20.27 square miles, which would be a square with sides of about a half a mile. For 8 billion people to fit into 690,000 square meters, there would have to be over 11,000 people per square meter. You should have said, John, according to this guy, yes, Joe, the world population could theoretically fit into the state of Texas if each person were to occupy a square meter. The total area required for the estimated 8 billion global population would be 8,000 square kilometers. Texas has 695,000 square kilometers. If each person got a square meter, the number of square meters would equal the number of people. 8 billion people would occupy 8 billion square meters, which is...
Did this guy get beat up a lot in high school?
What's his name again?
Well, David signs off by saying everybody in the world would end up with 936 square feet.
Well, they don't fit.
That's not bad.
Hell, there's apartments for a lot of money
Yeah.
that aren't that big.
That's a nice fish house.
That's
what
a
that
nice
is.
spread.
Want a new
Everybody
one?
in the world would end up with 936 square feet in Texas.
You want me to lay another one on you? And I hope David is listening. The world's population could theoretically fit inside Loch Ness multiple times over if you could somehow remove all the water. Approximately 10 to 15 times the Earth's population.
Yeah, but you'd be stacking people on top of each other.
Yeah, so what's that? Yeah. Well,
Boy, that was all I'm going to tell David is noted.
Noted, David. Thank you. It's noted.
I wonder if do they have ice outs on Loch Ness?
I don't believe Loch Ness ice is over, Chris.
If I was at a party and say I was, had a drink in my hand and heater in the other, and David was talking to me, I'd probably, hey, hold that thought. I'll be right back. I gotta run to the bathroom, and then I'd just do a Kenny disappearance thing.
We'd never see him again.
Never see me again.
I'd see Kenny in the corner and text, say, please come talk to me and grab me.
And last Friday in Lard Lake was a protest. The people who gathered were fragrance-free postmenopausal persons of fluid gender and purple-highlighted hair, evidently raised watching the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and they began to chant, "A little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down your pants. Come on, people, take a chance. Let's get rid of J.D. Vance." And this was a protest up in Lard Lake. And then they all went to Big Ernie's Lard View Bar and Grill for happy hour. Bill Stein wanted to report in on that protest. Only because they come to us all the way from Marloth Park. If you guys worked at your job, it took your job as seriously as Tom Lyman does, we'd be in New York.
Why?
I don't know. But yesterday I mentioned that he had printed on something, and he writes, "I had one job. In yesterday's email, the subjects were correct, but I had a mixture of dates. On the previous day's email, you mentioned you liked the printing of that email. I didn't change anything on that one from the others, so I don't know why it would have appeared different. Sorry about those items. Tom, you never have to apologize. But if you guys took your work as seriously as this guy does, boy, we'd be in hog heaven."
So it's safe to assume then that it was operator error on the printing from yesterday.
I don't know, but he's right back. It's right back to where it doesn't print. So I have my
If
backup.
you could run a printer the way the rest of the world could run a printer,
We'd be in New York. ...
On this day,
Joe, today is April 25th.
On this day in 1892, Maud Hart Lovelace was born in Mankato. She is the great-great-grandmother of
Linda?
Lacey Underall. She is remembered as the author of the Betsy Tacy books, a series of stories for young readers set in early 20th century Mankato. In 1979, the Mankato Friends of the Library Association established the Maud Hart Lovelace Book Award for children's books. On this day,
Joe, today is April 25th.
well, on this day in 1924, a race to break the world record for the longest distance traveled in a hot balloon ended in Rochester as the winner, W.T. Van Olman, landed the Goodyear 3 just under the world record distance, 1,179.9 miles. The race began in San Antonio, Texas, and the three top finishers soon represented the United States at the international competition in Brussels, Belgium.
Wow. I have a question.
Okay.
How long did it take? It doesn't say that.
Doesn't say. This day in history is often short on many
details,
facts like that. And then finally on this day,
on April 25,
in 2006, the Guthrie Theater opened its new building to the public.
That long ago.
Holy crap, that was 2006?
That's
19
years ago.
Yeah.
And I have sports disappointment on this day.
On NFL Draft Day 2 of April 25th.
On this day in 1961, the Twins lost 20-2 to Kansas City, the largest loss margin in team history.
Well, at 61, that would have been.
But I think it means to this day. Isn't that the largest margin of Twins loss?
Wow.
On this day,
on April 25th,
in 1987, you'll have to refresh my memory about this. I don't recall this. Twins Hat Night kerfuffle. Was there a problem giving away Twins hats on this night?
87?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't either.
You're right. That is their worst loss by 18 runs this day in 1961.
They were only 25 days into their existence.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. On this day,
April 25th.
in 2018, after a 14-year absence from the playoffs, the Wolves lost to the Rockets in the first round of the playoffs, 4-1. And finally, on this day,
April 25.
in 2023, the Wolves were eliminated in Game 5 by the Denver Nuggets. Thank you, GLers.
That's something, Ken.
Is he frozen? Frozen caveman?
Please do us a favor and subscribe to the Garage Logic YouTube
I don't
channel.
think he should be able to leave early like that. He's not earning his paycheck.
He's right there. He's got his hat on and
Not
everything.
only that, he's got a hat on.
Hit subscribe on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, because on that YouTube channel you can see Kenny Frozen, and you can watch the show each and every single day starting right around noon. And there's full segments, video shorts, behind the scenes footage in some cases, but it's all there for you on the Garage Logic YouTube channel. And follow us on all of our social media channels, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or you want to post a deep fake on Twitter. You can do that all. Just look for Garage Logic on social media. And as Joe mentioned, the GL of the week, sign up right now and upgrade that town council membership to an annual one. And have a great weekend.